All right, welcome back everyone. This is the second video in the series of most commonly asked questions about using a backpacking bidet or just a portable bidet in general. And if you haven't watched part one, you can watch part two before part one. If this is the first bidet video you are watching on my channel, turn it off. Turn it off. Go watch one of my videos on how to use a bidet. Go watch somebody else's video on how to use a bidet. This is not the video that's going to convince you to use a bidet. It's not going to give you the reasons for why you should use a bidet. It's just not a very good video for your first one. It's not going to inspire you to go bidet. So go watch another video first, and then you're going to have questions popping into your head. Go use a bidet, and then come back to this video. I'm just being honest. Let me give you what the 6 questions are in this video so that if you have no interest in them, you can turn the video off. The first question is, how do I use a bidet at a campsite? Do you have any advice for women? Does it splash all over your legs? Do I need soap afterwards? Isn't using a bidet just an example of hike your own hike? And last but not least, when is the Holy Hiker backpacking bidet finally going to be on sale to the general public? So let's start. Question 1. How do I use a bidet at a latrine at a campsite? I'll tell you right off that that is not a question that I could really answer with a lot of. I've only done it once, one single time, and I've done it at a regular toilet one single time. So I will use that experience, but I'll also kind of share what a lot of other people do that have shared their experiences with me, different testers over the last year and a half. What I've done and other people do is you don't pop a squat, you sit on the seat and you go to the bathroom. Then you lift up the seat and then you spray. Now obviously you go from the small circle of the seat to the big circle of the hole. The only time that this becomes a problem is when you're at a latrine that has a small hole. And so, if you're experienced, it's usually not much of an issue. If you're new, it's kind of nerve-wracking. But that is what works for most people. I know 3 or 4 people who are using a portable bidet at their house. And this is what they do every single day. They go on the seat, lift the seat, and then they squirt. I know other people through emails and comments have said that if they're at a campsite with a latrine, if it's not a heavily used campsite, and I know some people are going to cringe at this, so let me tell you what to do and then back it up a little bit, is that they'll go off into the woods and they'll just bury it out in the woods. Now, if you are on a trail or an area that receives a lot of heavy use, right, you obviously don't want to go doing that. Even here in Connecticut, you can be on a trail, the Appalachian Trail, and you can be at a campsite that gets very little use or a campsite where there's just always tons of people. And so you obviously, if it's getting tons of people, you always want to stick to the latrine. But if you are in an area where there's not a lot of people, go out into the woods. Next one. Do you have any advice for women on using a bidet? None. Zero. Zilch. I have none. I have never tried this bidet as a woman. People have suggested that my wife should make a video, which had us laughing all night because I'm the only one that goes backpacking in my family. Let's just leave it at that, beside my daughter. And I got nothing for you. But what I'd like is if you do have some advice, is to either leave it in the comments, or I would love to compile some videos from different ladies on advice on how to use a backpacking bidet. If you have any interest in getting your 5 minutes of fame, I would love to take that video and post it on the channel if you don't have a channel, or if you do have a backpacking channel, make one for your channel and I would share the link out. Because again, it's a commonly asked question and I got nothing. So I would love to refer someone to a video and say, here you go, here's advice from someone. Third question, does it splash all over your legs when using it? No, it doesn't, unless you're using bad technique. And so this is using a bidet is not this like just fire hose of spray coming out all over the place, hoping you hit the mark. It is very precise. From the spray to the water dripping down is all very precise. You can run into a problem in 2 ways. So if it's splashing on your legs, here's 2 of the reasons why it might be. If you're popping a squat that's very narrow, then yeah, it might splash on your legs. And so you do have to separate your legs out somewhat. And in that case, you're not going to get splashing on your legs. You're spraying the water into a literal crack. So it's going between your cheeks. It's not hitting a flat surface and then bouncing every which way. And so even if you end up missing a little bit, you're still going within the crack, and it's just bouncing along within that crack and staying there and then dripping straight down. The other thing that you might have to be worried about it with splashing on your legs, and I'm sorry, but let's just be real here for a second. If you've gone to the bathroom and you've had a good sized bowel movement, you've now got this pile between you, and the pile is somewhat pointed, maybe slightly round at the top, but still, it's still an angled pile. If you have a narrow squat, and then you go to use your bidet, that water comes down, hits the side of the pile, and now you've got splash. And so if you do produce a pretty good sized bowel movement, you do want to take maybe a little step forward and then use your bidet there. So the water is coming straight down into the ground or into the hole that you've dug, and it's not hitting your pile of poop and then splashing out from there. Next question. Isn't using a bidet just another example of hike your own hike? I kind of took a bunch of different questions and modified it into that one. Not everybody used the exact term hike your own hike, but that's generally the gist of it. And if you're not familiar with hike your own hike, I've got a lot of issues with that term. You'll see people throw it a lot around on Reddit boards and YouTube comments and stuff. And I think something like, I don't know, bringing a Kindle is an example of hike your own hike. Bringing that extra weight so that you can enjoy something is an example. I think, I don't know, certain types of packs might be a hike your own hike. If you're willing to have a pack with no waist strap and have everything hang from your shoulders all day, well, good for you. Hike your own hike. I see a lot of recommendations for things for knee pain, hiking poles, types of footwear that is not hike your own hike. It's actually stuff that could be detrimental to you, and that's not an example. So where does a bidet fall? I don't know. Is it better for the environment? Yes. Are you leaving less toilet paper behind? Are you leaving less waste behind? Yes. Is your body cleaner? Do you feel fresher? Do you feel better at the end of your hike? Yes. So I'm thinking that, it's maybe not hike your own hike, that maybe everybody should use a bidet. But then on the other hand, if you're truly not comfortable and you are hiking in places that just don't have a lot of human presence, is burying a hole of toilet paper that big of a deal? I don't think so. I mean, I definitely hike in areas where I can tell you that, nobody has pooped where I've been pooping in years, or nobody has pooped within, 1,000 yards of where I'm pooping. So putting some toilet paper under the ground, I don't know how much of a difference that's actually going to make on the environment as long as I'm doing it right. So I think eventually it's not going to be hike your own hike. It's just going to be something that people are expected to do because it's the right thing to do. Whereas right now, I think it's definitely still a hike your own hike thing. If you want to hike out a bag of used toilet paper, go for it. Hike your own hike. And the last question, when is the Holy Hiker Backpacking Bidet going to be available for sale to the general public? Well, this sucker has been under development for 1.5 years, since last February, I believe it's been, February of 2020, right before the pandemic lockdown hit. And it has been out to so many testers across the world. And finally, I have finally figured out the exact design that I want, the material. I have purchased the right machine to make them. And what I've done over the last few weeks is I'm going through the waiting list. Since I announced it way back when, there's been a waiting list on one of those videos that's since now gone. So there was like tons of people on that waiting list, and I've been going through that waiting list. And my goal is that by October is to actually announce it on the channel and have, a couple hundred of them available to sell. At this point, if you are good in your research, your internet research, if you could find the site that they're for sale on the online store, you are more than welcome to purchase one. As I'm sitting here right now, I think there's like 30 left. I don't know when this is going to get published. This video will be published, so who knows how many will be available then. But if you are good at, your research, you are more than welcome to try to beat some of those waiting list people and to get one. But October is when the Holy Hiker Backpacking Bidet will be available just in time for the holiday season. So check back on the channel and I'll have more information hopefully in October. All right, if you have another question about using a backpacking bidet, leave it in the comments, and if I get enough, I'll throw them all together into a third video. All right, thank you very much.